up, Badlands? Explain those Badlands. That's a hell of a name.
Good evening. Today is Black Monday, the day the Dow dropped more than 500 points.
Please join me in welcoming George Soros.
It's panic. Everyone's everybody would try to find a bottom.
To stand up and do something, become really engaged in the electoral process in this country.
What we have to confront is a deep, systemic and structural restructuring of our world. And this will take some time. And the world will look differently after we have gone through this transition process.
For centuries, they've been stuffing their stomachs with human flesh, and they've been stuffing their pockets with money. But they must realize that this bowl of vampires is about to end.
We have an army of digital soldiers.
That this is coming. This is going to be a part of a future where we can take back our power in ways we didn't even think about in the industrial age that are coming in the digital age.
But the common people of these countries in their heart, they can feel what's happening. They can see our struggle for our independence, for our true sovereignty. And they see this connection with their aspirations to be truly independent, which is exacerbated by the fact that in the Western elites there is a strong desire to freeze the current unfair state of things in international affairs.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. When they took a shot at my hero, and they tried to kill the next president of the United States, enough was enough. And I said, let TrumpaMania run wild, brother. Let TrumpaMania rule again. Let TrumpaMania make America great again.
People who don't believe are walking dead. They are asleep. And this is the awakening.
This is a week and a half and nobody seems to care that there's little kids involved in this. I can't speak what it's like to be a black man, right? I can't speak what it's like to be a Jewish woman, but I can speak what it's like to be a father of two young boys. And that this type of behavior, when I worked at CBS.com out of a little closet my first show, I was like, I'm going to say this and wear a blue shirt. I got 49 emails saying, maybe wear a purple shirt and maybe don't say this here. Don't tell me this slipped through the cracks when you're getting a court case that features child pornography. It's disgusting. It's disturbing.
Thank you for that passionate speech. I feel the same way. In fact, your wife's the one that brought this whole disgusting campaign to, I don't even want to call it campaign, let's call it criminal. It's, in my opinion, I don't know if they're going to face criminal, any sort of charges, but they should.
In late November of 2022, the luxury fashion brand Balenciaga released what would become two of the most controversial ad campaigns in the history of the fashion industry. The ads eerily featured toddlers amidst an array of Balenciaga accessories, BDSM teddy bears, pedophilic Easter eggs, and subtle nods to old pagan gods, all of which served to heighten the already growing curiosity regarding degeneracy and occultism in high places. The campaigns drew outrage in the post-Epstein era and came on the heels of loosely related cultural phenomena like Pizzagate, spirit cooking, satanic Nikes, the Wayfair controversy, and the general affinity for spiritual darkness in Hollywood. The sensationalism would eventually wear off, leaving people with the feeling that they had caught a glimpse of something important, but were left with more questions than answers. What was really going on here? Are there deeper implications, or was this truly just the result of poor creative decision-making, as implied by the brand's creative director? No, there had to be. The real question for most of us became, how bad is it? How had Balenciaga, historically one of the most tasteful, refined, and widely respected names in couture, come to this?
All right. Good evening, everybody. I think I'm getting some sound. Good. Welcome to the Book of Trump. I am your host, Gordon McCormick. And yes, I do have a suture on my nose. I got popped in the nose by my son, my 2-year-old, and was bleeding pretty bad here a few minutes ago. So I just just wanted to address the elephant in the room. But anyway, welcome to the Book of Trump. Tonight is going to be a great episode. It is chapter 32, Darkness by Design. And I'll be joined by two really great guests who I'll introduce here in a minute. Before I bring them on, let's say thank you to one of our sponsors. And tonight that would be Loaded Gun Coffee. Badlanders, you are all familiar with Loaded Gun Coffee. They have been longtime supporters of Badlands, and you may have met them in person at GART. But did you know they are a veteran-run, a family-owned shop in Lake Havasu, Arizona? Every bag of their whole bean coffee delivers a high-octane, patriotic punch of flavor. With a long family history of commitment to freedom, every bag is a testament of pride and honor. From the skilled farmers who cultivate each blend to the roasters that handpick the finest coffee beans from around the world, Loaded Gun Coffee has mastered their unique brewing methods, resulting in the best-tasting coffee around. This coffee is smooth and delicious, the perfect way to start your mornings. Get over to badlandsmedia.tv/loaded and use promo code Badlands to get 10% off your order. If you're in the Lake Havasu area, stop in their newly renovated store and say hi. That is badlandsmedia.tv/loaded, promo code Badlands. Stay loaded with Loaded Gun Coffee. That's awesome that they have a brick and mortar in Lake Havasu. So if you are in that area, definitely check that out. All right, without further ado, again, tonight's episode is called Darkness by Design, and that is the title of a film recently released by our friends Ryan Delarme and Adrian from RISE Attire. What's up, guys?
What's up? Good to see you, Jordan, and all the Badlands folks.
What's up, Gordon? How you doing, brother?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Yeah, I'm really excited to talk about this tonight because this is a node that I think connects to a lot of the different subjects that we've discussed on this show. We had a great call earlier today where we were like we basically like did the show. We did like an hour-long version of the show on the phone. But we had a lot of great rabbit holes we were talking about. So hopefully we'll get to address most of those subjects that we were talking about earlier. But yeah, so this is a film that was put out by our friends over at Dauntless Dialogue. Last week we had Adam Riva on to do his new film, A Clean Break. And this is part one. And so this one, I believe it's subtitled Balenciaga.
Balenciaga, yes. Yeah,
Balenciaga. Yeah, that's right. But yeah, why don't y'all just walk us through real quick the inspiration for the film, talk about the series since this is going to be part one, and just tell us why you decided to make this.
So just so everyone understands, I produced the film, created all the visuals, edited it, and Ryan wrote the script. I wrote it with him, but he wrote most of it, in coordination with each other. And basically the idea was to address the root causes that are going on beneath the surface that are causing certain high profile, in the high fashion industry, these brands to do seemingly outrageous things with their branding and their advertising. that's borderlining on, endorsing child abuse and child pornography and really weird stuff. And we use that as sort of a preamble to dig into the larger issues at hand, which is like a cultural philosophical rot that's going on in so many different aspects of the world, but primarily in some of these really influential brands and entertainers, music, fashion, just in the cultural sphere in general, and sort of examining that, the roots of it, and looking into some of these people who are hiring these people who are making these creative decisions, and just going down the or up the ladder, I should say, and sort of trying to get to the heart of it. And also, in part 2 and 3, we plan to get more and more into solutions for these things, and examining the answer to that, the counter response to that, which will happen naturally, but is also, the result of a concerted effort by good people to just bring back traditional values and make that cool again. And that's a big thing for me. That's why we started RISE Attire, was to sort of brand the truth and brand traditional values and just make it acceptable, make it socially advantageous for you to, represent that. And because of that, the decision to go this route with my first documentary addition to Dauntless Dialogue just seemed like a natural thing.
Yeah, I remember, was it you or was it Adam whose idea was to cover this to begin with?
Well, Adam presented me with a few different options, because him and I had been discussing wanting to get into film and do documentaries for Dauntless, and
Right.
he gave me a few options to choose from, and this one stood out to me immediately. He was just sort of talking about the Balenciaga skin and what that meant. And
Yeah.
to me, it's just so much bigger than just Balenciaga, but they're a perfect, archetype for that.
For sure. It started out as Balenciaga, as like that was the first elevator pitch, but then it grew into so much more, something much more far reaching, I think, than a single house. This is also how I met Adrian too, by the way. This is like the first time we ever talked to each other. Was kind of like spitballing for the script, which he did an amazing job of, by the way.
Thank you.
But yeah, so some of the main themes in the series are how the grotesque and provocative are what qualifies as beautiful and artistic today. Even though in many cases, like with Balenciaga's creative direction or the work of people like Jake and Dino Chapman, who I'm sure we'll talk about later, there's nothing of like real substance being transmitted through their art. It's just like intentionally unsettling for no discernible reason except to be edgy and provocative. And it's like this nihilistic atheist boundary pushing is what's accepted as high art, high fashion. But, some boundaries are there for a reason, So I just think all of this eerily echoes what we've seen throughout history with the intentional secularizing of society, removing religion and spirituality from public discourse, breaking up the family unit, all of these things that guys like Adam Weishaupt or Karl Marx were kind of pushing. It's the natural evolution of all that in my mind. And
it's sort of postmodernism.
Exactly.
For sure.
It's that postmodernist blurring of the boundaries of what is right and wrong, what is ugly and beautiful. And part of me sees it as just like a spiritual sickness, but another part of me sees it happening by design. And that's kind of why we called it Darkness by Design.
Yeah. And just to be clear, just to connect a few more dots for the audience, this sweatshirt is a RISE Attire sweatshirt, like one of the Badlands pieces that y'all put out, which is awesome.
Badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
There you go. Yeah. And we've hung out with Adrian and Christina at many Garts. So we've gotten to know them very well. They're awesome people. And then Ryan, I know you wrote A Time of Deceit. Was it also, did you also do the Crucible of Donald Trump?
No, that was, I believe it was just Adam and was John maybe.
Okay, Adam and John, yeah. But you did write A Time of Deceit.
Yeah, that's the longest script I've ever written for sure.
Yeah, so
that was a great one, man.
Yeah, man. So great script writer. There's a link to watch this film on Rumble for free in the description. It's about 24 minutes long. Obviously, very high production value because it's coming from Dauntless. But it's one of those things that it's a relatively quick watch. But I would recommend that you sit down and you watch it as opposed to just listening to it, because it's one of those documentaries that you really need to see the visuals in order for the message to I think be. And there are a few clips that we're going to watch here on this show, but definitely encourage everybody to click the link, go watch the film, and then stay tuned for the future segments they're going to put out on it. I should have also started with this disclaimer: do not listen to this episode around children, because things are probably going to be discussed. These clips that we're going to watch, they're not exactly. There's going to be some visuals in there that are going to be a little disturbing. So nothing that's obviously illegal or anything like that. But it's this subject matter is dark, but it's one of those things that I commend y'all for making this film, because the only thing that evil needs is for good men to do nothing. So if we avert our eyes and look away and don't confront this thing, that's how it got to the point that it is. So we have to confront it. We have to look at it, and it's
ugly.
We have to talk about it. And yes, it's very ugly. It's very jarring. It's disturbing. But we can't be afraid in this moment. This is the moment where we have to look it straight. We just have to wrap our arms around it and understand what it is, so that we can take it on and dismantle it, because it is absolutely disgusting. That clip that you chose for the intro, I thought was very powerful. That was I'd never seen that clip before I saw this film. Really, really good clip. And that guy makes a lot of really good points, because as I've explained before, I went to art school for a year, and they explained to us, every commercial that you watch on television, little 30-second car commercial, every single thing that is on screen, somebody made a decision on. It was a conscious decision, even if it was just some person in the room being like, is it a yellow dress or a green dress for the girl walking in the background that doesn't even have a line in the it's every single thing. There is a conscious decision that's made, no matter how quickly it's made. And it's
especially with a huge multi-million, even billion-dollar collaboration between Balenciaga and Adidas. You better believe every single detail is scrutinized by a whole committee of people.
Yes.
Let alone one person who could, just pass over it by accident. It's just not feasible. It's not possible.
Yes. So do not let them tell you that it was just like an error in judgment, or it was one person or whatever. That's absolute bullshit. This was done as a coordinated situation. I think it obviously resonates with a lot of the other things that we're seeing in our culture, the sickness of our culture. So, yeah. With that said, let's kick it off. I don't know where y'all want to start with this, because I think what we discussed earlier is we're going to talk about things that are in the film, but we obviously want people to go watch the film. So we're not gonna talk about every single part of the movie, of the documentary. But there's also things that didn't make it into the film that we're probably going to talk about some of that stuff. And then of course you already have the next one in the works. So maybe this will be a bridge to part 2 as well.
Well, I have a suggestion. How about, since we have 2 clips to show, and we have an hour and a half show, why don't, after that introduction, and we've probably got some more people here now who may have missed the first one, why not play the first clip? Okay. It sets the scene nicely, and then we can just riff off of that.
Cool.
What do you think?
Sounds good.
Cool.
At the height of his career, Cristobal was widely seen as a true master of his craft. He inspired up-and-coming designers like Oscar de la Renta and Hubert de Givenchy, boasted clientele such as Mona von Bismarck, Gloria Guinness, Grace Kelly, Ava Gardner, Audrey Hepburn, and Jackie Kennedy. He'd even designed the dress worn by Queen Fabiola of the Belgians to her royal wedding in 1960. Cristobal would retire from the world of high fashion in 1968 at the age of 74, and to the surprise of many, he made the decision to end the brand along with his career, stating that
high fashion is mortally wounded.
Cristobal was not impressed with the direction that high fashion had been taking. In his mind, if he was done designing, then there was no reason that the brand should continue. A common theme with big designer brands like Armani, Prada, and Chanel is the reverence they display for their founders. They take great pride in the fact that they're family-owned, often boasting storied histories of each brand's rise to prominence. So how is it that Balenciaga, with Cristobal having no heir nor desire to see the house live on, continues to dominate high fashion today? Is it possible that their claim to the original house, founded in 1917, is a fictional story? Following his death in 1972, the rights to his brand name would be sold against his stated will by an estranged nephew to the German chemical manufacturer Hoechst AG, one of the co-founders of IG Farben, a lingering relic of Hitler's war machine known for supplying Zyklon B, the cyanide-based pesticide said to have been used at Auschwitz. The reason for Hoechst's acquisition of the brand was to continue its popular perfume line. The rights would be sold again in 1986 to another chemical company before finally being picked up in 2001 by Kering, a multinational corporation specializing in luxury brands. When Cristobal died, Balenciaga was laid to rest as well, but the grave was robbed and the brand reanimated through economic necromancy. It would lumber around for years, passing through the hands of several designers until finally a new spirit came into Balenciaga. Demna Gvasalia.
It's a good, man. High production value always out of Dauntless. Yeah, and this is a very topic, like a good moment, I think, in time to have y'all on the show. Didn't plan it out this way, of course, but obviously we have the Charlie Kirk situation unfolding, and I think we're seeing a resurgence, hopefully a resurgence towards Jesus in this country, like a true Great Awakening, like they had in the 1730s. But also we had this news, which this is not Balenciaga, of course, but this is related to the fashion industry, and Giorgio Armani dying 3 weeks ago. And, he was, I think, most known, as we discussed earlier, for cultivating a relationship. It even says right here, he created a male uniform whose feminized form won favor with women. In alliance with movie stars, made his name all but synonymous with red carpet dressing. Basically, he went and made friends with like all the producers and directors in Hollywood, and then got his clothing put into movies, like in the 80s. And I think the first one was American Gigolo, they say. And of course, this was happening. I'm sure this relationship between fashion and Hollywood was happening long before this guy. But this just goes to show, it's like the tastemakers being Hollywood, creating popular culture and just doing it hand in hand with the people in
fashion.
Yeah.
It's a concerted circle jerk for sure.
Yeah.
And that's the point, is they build people up and they create celebrity, and then they use that celebrity to push certain ideas through culture, and a lot of those ideas are represented through the brands that they wear and through the clothing that they put on. And it's really important to understand the context of all this. And the clip that we showed, I think, is cool, because what I really wanted to do with this is pay homage to Cristobal Balenciaga, who is the namesake of the brand, because I think he did good work. By all measures, I haven't been able to find anything bad about him. He led a pretty isolated life. He didn't like being in the public eye. He only did 2 interviews. Mm-hmm. And he was into couture. So basically what they would do is he would custom make dresses and make one of a kind dresses that he wouldn't make two of, and that's the whole idea behind couture.
Is that what couture means? Because I've always
Mhm.
kind of wondered what that word means.
Yeah, it's a French word that basically it's reserved for designers and seamstresses or seamsters. I don't know what the male version of seamstress is, but that they basically do one of a kind tailor. Yeah, so they create one of a kind pieces, and he did dresses for some of the biggest names of the time, and people like Jackie Kennedy and the Queen Fabiola, the Belgians, and he was gay. He didn't have any kids. He didn't have any heirs, and his sole desire at the end of his run was to shut Balenciaga down and to not continue it, because he felt like if he's not doing it anymore, then it should continue, and it didn't. That was his stated will, and it was usurped. Like so many of the cabal's weapons, they are usurpers. They don't own rightful heir to these thrones that they sit on in many cases, and Balenciaga is a great example of that. And they don't want you to know that. That's something that I think that they would deny if they were asked in some kind of press conference. But it's factually accurate that it was the rights to the Balenciaga name were sold against his stated will after he died, and sold to a chemical manufacturing company making perfume. And then it started back up again in the 90s, and it didn't have a very good run at first. And in the high fashion world, especially when they started doing mass manufacturing, where they would replicate the same product and went away from what's that?
Is that fast fashion?
Yeah, there's a few different names for it. I don't think it's got one official name, but it's basically a more kind of mass manufacturing, and that deviates from the couture philosophy, which Cristobal would have never in a million years allowed for. And really, it's about who the creative director is. So once it got in the hands of a guy named Demna Gvasalia, who's definitely a person of interest in this whole saga, and someone who's good friends, at least was good friends with Kanye West for a while, that we'll get into. He sort of turned the brand into what it became, which is an abomination. The whole brand is like a skin suit, basically, that he's walking around in Cristobal's skin, pretending like he's doing some kind of honor to his name and legacy, which couldn't be further from the truth.
Yeah, it's really like a complete inversion of everything that Cristobal stood for. The mass production, because I'm pretty sure couture is really like made by hand, kind of, right?
Yeah.
And it's not like that at all. It's like in some cases they're just wearing garbage bags. So it's it's like
literally
the complete opposite. He's barrel rolling in his grave right now.
Yeah, they were doing handbags that look like IKEA bags, and they were made with that crappy plastic that's woven plastic, and selling them for $10,000. They had shoes that looked like they had been through a wood chipper that they're selling for $5,000. Just almost laugh at people.
Yeah, I remember going to Florence, which is like the leather capital of the world, which I didn't know. And we went to this really famous leather school, or a leather tannery. And they had this bag, and I'm sure if I showed the bag on screen, I can't even remember what the place is called. I'm sure women would recognize the bag. It's an iconic bag apparently. But we went in there, and they had pictures on the wall. I mean, it must have been hundreds of pictures, every famous person you could possibly imagine coming there and getting a bag and taking pictures with them. And they said that like every single corporation, every single person had come there and tried to get them to develop a brand. They're like, and they said, no, like we don't want to develop a brand. We make this one bag. We make it really, really well. I think they may have had like 1 or 2 variations. They've been doing this for like 60 or 70 years. It was like a family business. Didn't even have a logo. They didn't they had no branding, nothing like that.
That's cool.
It was cool. It was really cool. And
I like that.
Yeah, and like you could just walk down the street and there would be all these like leather shops and they'd be selling really nice like leather products for nothing. I mean, you could buy like a nice purse for like $200, like a real, and that thing would probably cost thousands of dollars in America, like with a logo on it and branding and all that. And so yeah, there's definitely something to that where like you go to certain parts of Europe, and I mean Florence is pretty touristy; it's a tourist trap, but that like that craftsmanship, like that artisan, that world of like the artisan like craftsman, like making his wares and then selling it. And of course, even when you're talking about someone like Balenciaga doing it for like like Queen Fabiola, that's at like the highest levels, and there's still like a layer of celebrity there, but it's not really the same thing, it seems, as what we're seeing here with not only popular culture, but like the Satanism that I think has always probably been inherent in popular culture, just being turned up to like maximum in your face.
I think it's we have a tendency at this point, because we've been digging into this stuff for so long, and to sort of look at celebrity culture or a celebrity status as like a default bad, evil, and in so many cases that's applicable, but I think with the case of someone like Queen Fabiola or Jackie Kennedy or some of the other names that are escaping me, the kind of celebrity back then, it was, what was good about it was that they were putting beauty up on a pedestal. There was a sophistication to it, and the values that they were conveying through that language of fashion that was coming across, that people were paying top dollar for, was something that people could look up to and aspire to be, and that would lead them down a positive road, more or less, especially when it comes to a clear delineation between male and female roles. You know what I mean? Like, we take something like that for granted, but like that, these days there's like that's even a question that's so like prevalent that we look up to anyone who takes a stand on that as brave in certain industries. But like back then it was very simple and noble, I think.
And to contrast that, it's like everything that Balenciaga, other designers as well, but especially Balenciaga, it's like they're trying to see how ugly they can make stuff. It's like, they act like it's artistic expression, but it's not really expressing anything as far as I can tell. And and that goes beyond fashion into music, art, film, anything really, anything that's like a creative pursuit these days. There's just a general lack of meaning in everything today.
Yeah, and that that goes back. It's such a good point, and that goes back to 2 schools that came out of Germany. One of them was mostly the Bauhaus school, and I don't know if we've talked about them on this show. We've certainly talked about them on Breaking History, but the Bauhaus school was basically like a school of like beatniks, I guess you'd call them. They were bohemian people, like hippies basically, but this is like the 1920s, 1930s.
Beatnik, like William Burroughs, kind of like Allen Ginsberg.
Yeah, so technically it was an architecture school, but if you like, I was when I was in school, I was forced to watch a documentary on it, and it was like, they had actual footage. These people were like filming themselves back in like the 30s, and basically their curriculum was a spiral. And it's like you'd start on the outside of the spiral, and you do 1 semester of each of these classes. And these classes had nothing to do with architecture. It was like it was like interpretive dance, like poetry, like finger painting. And then finally the final semester was like technical drawing. Like you learn how to do like actually like use like a like draft, like, on a drafting board, which is, I mean, in like any other architecture program, that would be the first thing you'd learn how to do.
So
and what happened was that when Hitler came into power, these people were all Jewish, and so he went after the school, and so they all fled and they went running to America, and for whatever reason, both the faculty and the students, all of them immediately found landing spots at the most prestigious like Ivy League schools. The faculty all became the deans, like the heads of the architecture programs at the top schools in America. And then the students all became like professors. And these people hated tradition. They hated.
Is that the Franklin School you said?
No. This is the Bauhaus School. The other school I was going to mention was the Franklin School. So the Franklin School was more of like the intellectual, like academic side. The Bauhaus was more of like the art and architecture. But it's all moral relativism. It's all like the idea that your truth is not my truth, and I'm going to go pursue my truth. And you could tell by like watching these films of what these people were doing, they clearly were taking drugs and like literally they were rolling around like naked, like in paint, like on drugs, like that's, and they were filming themselves doing it, and that was considered like art to them. And what I learned just through my experience, but also when I was the 1 year that I did in art school, is all art has intent. Everything has intent. If art does not have intent, it's not art. And so this idea that you're just gonna put something out there, call it art, but then not take responsibility for what the messaging is behind it, while also accepting that people are going to look at, multiple people are going to look at the same thing and have a different interpretation of it. Like that's fine. That's a different facet of it. But the idea that you're going to put out like this pedophile stuff, like the pedophilic art, and then not take responsibility for the fact that it's pedophilic art and say, well, that's just your interpretation of it. No, I mean, this stuff, we're not going to sit here and look at it all, but it's like, this stuff is clearly pedophilic art. And to not call it pedophilic art is an insult to the audience, like to the people looking at it.
And if anybody doesn't understand what we're talking about, you could look up the work of Jake and Dinos Chapman, the Cockroach Kid.
Oh, dude, it's gross.
It's some of the most, like, that's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Like, sometimes there's stuff.
Is it worth showing any of it, or is that too much?
I'll leave that up to Gordon, but it's like,
we don't have to. I just think it's important.
Dino Chapman, right?
Yeah,
keep talking, and I'll look at it.
The big ones that they sold at Christie's for tons of money, which is the auction house owned by the guy who owns Kering, which is the company that owns Balenciaga. Interestingly enough, they sold these dudes art, and it's like a combination of sex doll with children, with like penises for noses, and like.
Yeah, I'm not going to show this stuff on screen, but we can describe it. And again, like I already gave
that's fine. That's fine.
I already gave everyone the disclaimer. Like, children should not be listening to this show. Like, this is not a show that you should be playing with your kids in the room. But yes, go ahead and describe it, and we're not going to show it on screen. This stuff's gross.
It's just unsettling and disturbing, and it's like I defy anybody in the audience to go look at it and tell me what deeper meaning exists for that piece of art. Like, what is the purpose or the intent with that piece of art, other than to just make people uncomfortable for the sake of doing it? Or is it to feed their own weird, perverted artistic expression? It's like, I don't know, but I don't think anyone's gonna enjoy that art and come away from it a better person.
I think these people, I think they hide behind this facade of, oh, it's just art, and that's something that they use to get away with this stuff. And when you look deeper and deeper into it, you realize that a lot of these movements, that you were talking about, the Bauhaus and Frank, like, even if you look at like Timothy Leary and some of the the 70s, the whole the Summer of Love, all this stuff that just led to more and more degeneracy. A lot of it's being funded by really powerful interests,
Yeah, what you're describing, by the way, if you go read, I think it was King Kesey who wrote the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. This is like a true story about the Merry Pranksters. And this was like the group of people who were following around basically the Grateful Dead. They were like following like that whole movement, like in the early 60s before, like as long before like Woodstock.
Yeah, 60s.
And in the book, King Kesey is describing a guy who shows up. I forget what the guy's name is, but he describes him as working for the CIA. And he says that he's the one who had all the LSD and was like passing the LSD out to everybody. And they're just basically driving across California, just giving LSD out to anyone they meet. And they call themselves pranksters, and they call them, they get into all kinds of mischief. But basically they're just destabilizing society, really, like with like what they're like the ideas that they were pushing as they're doing this stuff.
And a lot of the people like leading that and fueling that probably don't even realize they're doing it. They probably believe that they're part of some movement, and they're breaking social norms.
Yeah.
Maybe there's just a handful of genuine operatives kind of leading it, kind of like how modern civil unrest works. But I mean, I fell into that trap kind of. I was a huge, I love Jack Kerouac and William Burroughs and all that pre-hippie beatnik stuff. But then it never made my life any better. It didn't make it any
Oscar
more.
Wilde, it's just
Oscar Wilde, yeah. Mm-hmm.
It just tears your life apart, and that's the purpose of it. I mean, we're talking like bigger picture stuff. Who was it Carnegie that was funding the in the 60s? What you were talking about? Mellon. It was Mellon. I was thinking of Carnegie, the Mellon family.
Yeah, I think you actually might be right about that. So here, I'll just pull this up. So like the guy I'm talking about is King Kesey. So he's an author, right? Yeah. An American novelist, essayist, and counterculture figure. He considered himself a link between the Beat generation of the 1950s and the hippies of the 1960s. Okay. And it even says right here in his Wikipedia, it says he began writing One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So if you're familiar with that book and film, he's the one who wrote that. After completing a graduate fellowship in creative writing at Stanford University, the novel was an immediate commercial and critical success. When published 2 years later, during this period, Kesey was used by the CIA in the Project MK involving hallucinogenic drugs, including mescaline and LSD, which was done to try to make people insane, to put them under the control of interrogators. And so and then here it mentions the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test and the Merry Pranksters. Okay, no, I'm sorry. So Tom Wolfe is the one who wrote the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. But King Kesey is one of the main characters in the Electric Kool-Aid Acid Test. And it talks about the consumption of LSD and the Grateful Dead, like all being there. But going back to Stanford, the experiments that he was involved in at Stanford, I think it was 10 people, like 10 subjects originally. One of the other subjects was Whitey Bulger, who would later go on to be the head of the Boston Mafia. If you've ever seen the movie The Departed, Jack Nicholson's character in that movie is based on Whitey Bulger, like real person. And so Whitey Bulger and King Kesey were two of the 10 people in this room in Stanford University, basically being given LSD and mescaline and drugs as part of Project MK by the CIA. And one of them goes on to lead the counterculture movement, and the other one goes on to become one of the top organized crime figures in the country.
Crazy, man.
Yeah.
So much sprang from that, creating the counterculture, It's like they already had all the establishment institutions. Why not control the counterculture too?
Yeah, well, because ultimately what it's really about is it's about like a reactionary counterculture, right? I mean, it's about a reactionary force where kids are rebelling against their parents, and it's like, oh well, I don't want to be like my parents because my parents are dull and boring, so I'm going to do the opposite of whatever my parents were doing, right? Or if my parents said to go left, I'm going to go right. If my parents said to stand up, I'm going to sit down. Like whatever it is, I'm going to do the just reactionary opposite of what I'm told, not only by my parents, but by any authoritative figure. And then that kind of snowballs into the 70s, right? And then the 80s. And then you get gangster rap, right? You get the grunge era of the 90s. So all this stuff, it just starts to pick up momentum. And then it kind of it's like a rubber band. It almost kind of snaps back in the late 90s, because then you get like the boy bands and the like sex kitten icons, like Britney Spears and all that stuff, and that's like super mainstream, and that is not about rebelling, that's about conforming. That becomes about conforming. So it's very, very like strange and perverse, but it's all psychological, and it's all being driven by really the same forces.
Yeah, it's all contrived, and that's the thing, is that, you know, they're fine with it going back and forth, snapping back, as you described, within the parameters that they set, as long as it's within their control dynamic, right? So they're still moving the ball forward in the direction of destroying Western civilization, you know? But I think what we're seeing now, in a lot of respects, and this is what I really wanted to highlight in part 2, and hopefully we'll go even more into in part 3, is the actual response, the natural, you know, snapping back of the rubber band that's happening outside that dynamic, you know, that's happening just as a result of everyone seeing this, you know, contrived sort of phony show of what's cool, or what's told that we're cool, you know, counterculture, supposedly, seeing it for what it is, and seeing the, you know, with the information age has given us is the ability to like start talking about this stuff with people all over the world and start connecting dots and tracking money. And you start to realize that these things that you think are happening organically are not. And once that illusion is broken, once that spell is, you know, dispersed, like, it really wakes people up, and then they begin to just return to what is naturally good and naturally beautiful. And I think that's what's going on in so many respects culturally right now. And it's a beautiful thing to see, you know. They don't want you to see examples of it, you know, but just like they don't want you to see examples of populism or how popular MAGA is, or whatever, you know, pick your example. There's happening culturally all over the world right now as well, and in music and fashion as well. Like there's some designers that have returned to haute couture, it's called, and have been like creating the most incredible, gorgeous gowns and dresses that are like, you know, that Cristobal Balenciaga would have like been ogling, like, ooh, wow.
Yeah, who was that? I remember we included it in part 2, but
yeah,
you showed me that, and it's like, wow, it's like the pendulum swinging back pretty hard, like making some really beautiful handmade dresses, like you just don't see anymore. Like modest, it's not like, you know, super sexy. It's just super beautiful.
Well, yeah, it's like America moved towards, like at the end of the 20th century, moved towards like mass production, right? Just make it cheap, make it simple, make it you know, we lost like the taste for like the ornament, and a lot of that, like the ornateness, like if you look at the way people dressed even like 60 years ago, where everyone would put on like a coat and tie to go fly on a plane. Like my grandfather used to always talk about that. Talk about how nobody like gets dressed up to fly anymore.
So I just shared a link to this one video that we were talking about. I think we could play it. Not going to give anything away.
Yeah. But it's really pretty stuff.
So this is Jolie Poly.
Jolie Poly.
Let me see. I'll turn the sound off just so we can talk while we're looking at it.
And the person who made the video said something interesting, that you can tell when a designer loves or hates women.
Women, yeah.
That's really interesting.
And that these are examples of a designer who appreciates the female form and who has reverence for it, and is creating things that pay homage to it and that have a classical beauty to them, and follow certain rules that are godly almost, you know, like golden ratio. And when you do that, it's a universal attraction or beauty that you feel, that sense of balance, you know. And the modern stuff, the postmodern stuff, is deliberately doing the opposite, and
Yeah.
perhaps at first there's some sort of like statement that you could make with that, I guess, but like it's just way past the line where that's just something that's like a response or a statement into itself. It's just become rot, cultural degeneracy and rot that's intentional. And when you realize it's intentional, when it's got billions of dollars being pumped into it,
You can
that's
contrast.
not natural.
You can contrast that clip you just showed with like any of the. I threw a link in the group chat of like any Balenciaga runway, where it's like the complete inversion, where you've got the most awful sounding industrial music, all of the like, look at this.
3, 2, 1. Wait.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, this is the actual runway. It's like a mud field. This guy's actually walking through like muddy water.
With like strobe
androgynous,
lights.
And this is considered this is a freak show. Yeah,
This
for
is
sure.
awful industrial music playing in the background.
Really unsettling.
And it's designed
dissonant.
to make you feel uncomfortable, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
That's the point of it. And this goes back to God, was it Le Corbusier or was it Mies van der Rohe? It was one of the two. They were both architects who kind of were at the forefront of the postmodern movement, and it may have been Le Corbusier who said this, but they said that they saw World War I as an opportunity, because they said that World War I basically destroyed all of the Europe of their fathers, and that they hated all that architecture. They hated all of that over ornate beauty, which they viewed as like this burden and this this relic of the past. And World War I and World War II wiped all that away and gave them a new canvas, like a blank canvas, to impose their will on Europe. And they came back with just like crap, just like this oversimplistic, minimalistic stuff. And there's some like examples of like interesting, more quote unquote like modern architecture, but most of it is just
it's dehumanizing.
It's dehumanizing. It's very dehumanizing for sure. Absolutely, that's what it is. And it's all about just making you feel cold and like you said, like unhuman. And there's another anecdote that I wanted to share that I thought was interesting. It's like a quick little timeline of some notes that I took down preparing for the show. And that's the story of Abercrombie and Fitch. I mean, we just talked about like Britney Spears and like, the boy bands of the late 90s. That's, I was born in 88. So that, when I was 12, 13 years old, I remember that being everywhere. And I thought it was annoying back then. And I still think it's annoying now. But the story.
I thought you were going to say you were rocking Abercrombie.
No. It might surprise you, but I was not rocking Abercrombie. I thought that stuff, like, I just looked at all this stuff and I was like, man, that stuff is like, there's just something about it that it just felt really off.
I had a t-shirt that said anti-Crombie.
Yeah, there you go. So Abercrombie was founded by David Abercrombie in 1892. He ran a shop in New York selling high quality sporting and travel goods. A guy named Ezra Fitch was a wealthy lawyer and avid sportsman, became one of Abercrombie's loyal customers. Then he bought the business in 1900. He renames it in 1904 Abercrombie and Fitch, and it becomes like the go-to outfitters for explorers, hunters, and adventurers. At this time, Britain in particular was hiring people to go like explore Africa. So you had this whole like there's a whole aesthetic around like the safari, like outdoorsmen. So like it says the clients included Ernest Hemingway, Theodore Roosevelt, Amelia Earhart, Howard Hughes, but it was all about like being outdoors, right? And so then, their Manhattan flagship store was 12 stories tall. It had an indoor shooting range, a fly fishing pool, a rooftop garden for the demonstrations. I mean, it was like a complex.
That sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, it does. It does.
That was what time period? Like the early 1900s?
This is like the early 1900s. Yeah, like the early 1900s.
Do you know when it was acquired by Les Wexner?
Yes, that's what I'm getting to.
Okay,
So,
my bad.
so apparently, the taste shift between the 1950s and the 1970s, that was up until the 1940s. Then between the 1950s and the 1970s, the taste shift from safari exploration gear towards more casual, and that's when the brand starts to struggle. They filed for bankruptcy in 1977 after like 2 decades of just bad sales. The name still had like some prestige, so it was purchased and revived. And then in 1988, this would be 11 years after that bankruptcy, it's purchased by a company called The Limited, and The Limited was owned by Les Wexner, who was The Limited also owned, I believe, Victoria's Secret.
That's right.
So
Bath and Body Works.
yeah, so 1988 is when Les Wexner purchases Abercrombie and Fitch, and then he reinvents it as the quote unquote all American preppy cool, like jeans, polos, tees, hoodies, heavy, like all of that. And then there's information, documentaries out about that whole era, but it was all about like they only hired like people who looked a certain way. They it was all about making it seem exclusive and making it seem cool, right? And that was the whole push for it. They were pushing people towards that area. And the CEO who was responsible for all that was, and this is the 90s and the early 2000s, was Mike Jeffries. And y'all may remember Mike Jeffries was like recently arrested and indicted on what was he indicted for exactly? Mike Jeffries was indicted for,
isn't it soliciting underage boys for sex?
yes, he was arrested for, here it is, October. This is just last October.
Oh yeah. Oh, look at this guy too.
Yeah, so just last October, he is arrested for federal sex trafficking case for more than 20 years. He led Abercrombie & Fitch for more than 20 years, arrested as part of a federal investigation into a sex trafficking and an interstate prostitution case. His arrest comes 1 year after bombshell allegations emerged in which eight men accused Jeffries and his inner circle of sexually exploiting them at lavish parties around the world. So yeah, I mean, this guy was obviously was very close to Les Wexner, and was the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch and was responsible for pushing all of that. So, and this was like a mainstream staple brand in American fashion throughout my life.
Yep.
So anyway, but this goes back to what you were saying before, Adrian, about taking something that was pure and one thing like 100 years ago, and then bastardizing it, basically poisoning it, and then making it into something that is only meant to generate money, but then also to generate, I think, suffering and self-loathing and a lot of other like negative energy, right?
And to further degenerate societal norms, like if you look at the Abercrombie ads from the 90s, I mean, you might think back on it and think, oh, it was this innocent stuff. Is we see that through almost rose-colored glasses. Recently I went back and looked at some of them, and they're very suggestive, very sexual, and you're looking at kids who are underage. I mean, these are teenage boys in most cases that don't have a shirt on, have like tight shorts, and probably like 14, 15 years old, pants pulled down about as far down as you can go before you start seeing their junk, and it's when all the girls that age are looking at that and going through puberty. I mean, this is what has led us to the point that we're at now, where kids in elementary school are getting in trouble for having oral sex. Yeah.
For being sexualized. Yeah. It's like they're sexualizing kids like under the age of 10, basically, right?
Yeah. And it's worked in a lot of respects. So I think while these people need to get arrested, and they are, that's a great example of that. And there's a number of others that we'll probably touch on. The real answer to it is a cultural response. And it needs to become, and it is becoming, just socially uncouth to back these people, to represent these people as a brand, their brand, because these brands are being closely tied to the people who run them, who are all degenerates, and they're all being exposed as degenerates in the worst ways, and everyone's just seeing it for what it is. So it's a question of, are you willing to look the other way or not, or are you willing to? Do you not have a problem with it? In some cases, some people don't. And with the Balenciaga scandal, it forced a lot of people to have to take a stand on it. And one of those people was Kanye West. And interestingly enough, he chose to
hold that thought.
Sure.
Because that's right. No. Hive mind. That's exactly where I wanted to go next. So let's do this. Let's do another ad read. There's another clip that I think you wanted to play, and I don't know if it makes sense to play the clip now or to maybe just do. Maybe what we'll do is we'll do the Kanye. I have the Kanye clip. Let's do the Kanye clip because I have that from when he went on Alex Jones' show.
Oh,
I think
cool.
I think you were about to go there.
Yeah.
And then maybe we can play the second clip from y'all's film that y'all had. Because I think all that ties together. We should talk about that scandal. Okay, so. Let's see. We're gonna do.
Yeah, the second clip is relevant too.
All right, let's do.
Deodorant should do more than cover you up. It should protect you all day long.
Dude, the deodorant stick is legit. I like the mint one. And you go work out and you kind of get you get funky if you work out. Dude, at the end of my workout, I'm sweating, shirt got all those sweat, I'm like, dude, I still smell good. I absolutely love it. If you guys haven't tried it, try it.
That's the difference with Soft Disclosure. No aluminum, no chemicals, just clean, natural ingredients that fight odor and keep you fresh through every workout, every meeting, every moment.
I've always struggled with the you can't use aluminum deodorant because you're going to die if you use it kind of thing, because all of the non-aluminum deodorant products suck pretty much. Yeah. This is different. This is all day. You're all day good, and you're not putting any of that disgusting chemicals right near your lymph nodes.
Soft Disclosure deodorant, real protection, real freshness, built on truth. Available in mint and lemon grapefruit. Visit softdisclosure.com and use promo code Badlands for 15% off.
Soft disclosure.
Okay, sorry to cut you off there, Adrian. I have this clip of Kanye on Alex Jones' show, but why don't you give us a little bit of background as to what's going on here with Kanye in this clip.
Okay, so Kanye had been someone who was working with Demna in a number of ways. They were collaborating. Kanye is in the fashion world as well as the music world, and he was one of the brand ambassadors for Balenciaga, at least by proxy, through his wife, Kim Kardashian, ex-wife, who was an official brand ambassador of Balenciaga. And after this scandal broke, that I don't know, we didn't really go into the details of it. I think most people are familiar that Balenciaga. Oh, actually, in the intro video, we talked about it pretty quickly. But Balenciaga put out these ad campaigns that basically glamorized child abuse and stuck these Easter eggs into the
highly
ad.
suggestive pedophilic imagery in a photo shoot basically that they put out as part of a couture brand, right?
It's their gift shop. It was a bunch of Christmas gifts they put out, and there was little kids laying down looking like they were drunk or drugged, and they're selling flasks and had empty wine glasses and beer cans, and some of the they had bondage tape that was there, this black vinyl bondage tape. They even had this. It looked like caution tape, but it said Balenciaga on it, and they were selling this. You know, you get a roll of this caution tape that's a Balenciaga on it, and pay like I think they were selling for like $200-$300 or something, which is outrageous. But in the ad, it said BAAL, Balenciaga. So the insinuation is reference to Baal, which is like a Venetian god of child sacrifice. And this is sitting right next to a kid with a like sad, droopy look on his face. So, you know, this was just skimming the surface. It gets even worse. Watch the film to understand how bad it is. But it forced a lot of the people who were associating with Balenciaga to have to come out and condemn them for this. And a lot of the celebrities just didn't say anything about it, which spoke loudly, you know, and everyone was sort of like looking, trying to figure out where everyone stood on this. And Kim Kardashian had to come out and she sort of said something about it. But Kanye was like, yo, I'm not getting involved. You know, leave Balenciaga alone. You know, so, and this was like right around the time that he went on Alex Jones and had his notorious appearance donning a Balenciaga face mask, mind you. He had one of these things that signature to Demna's style where that just completely disguised your identity.
The Gib mask, the Gib suit.
Yeah.
So let me just give a little bit of a timeline here, based on my understanding and what I've researched. 2016, this Dimna character, who's like the star, so to speak, of this film that y'all put together, the star designer and basically the chief artist responsible for a lot of this gross imagery. Kanye and him have this like mutual affection that's expressed in 2016, and then in July 2021, it sounds like some kind of a puffy jacket vest gets released, designed by Kanye, and I think it's either Gap or Balenciaga. But January 2022, officially, there's an announcement that big New York Times article about Kanye announcing it's called Yeezy Gap, and it's the Gap like for kids and families and stuff, partnering with Balenciaga through Kanye West. 2 months after that gets released, this article comes out in Newsweek about Kim Kardashian and this like pedophilic imagery, like this salacious, child sex imagery, like sexualizing children, and blaming Kim Kardashian for promoting this brand that was doing this stuff. This is before these ad campaigns come out that you're talking about. They're just saying in general, these artists that Balenciaga are hiring dabbling in this stuff, and Balenciaga is like hiring these artists. That's 2 months after Kanye has been like, all right, Gap and Balenciaga, y'all are now working together. Fast forward to October 2022. That's when Kanye and Candace go to, and we covered this on chapter 5, the Kanye West episode with Cam. But it's October 2022, later that year. Kanye and Candace go to Paris for Fashion Week, and they put on the White Lives Matter shirts. And that was when the whole world came after Kanye. And basically, that was when the lawyers all started threatening him. They said, we're going to pull all of your, he lost his Adidas deal. He lost his Gap deal. He lost all billions and billions in net worth, basically taken overnight. His bank accounts were frozen. He got into Bitcoin as a result, funny enough. But basically, they just totally came after him, all because he wore a shirt that says White Lives Matter, standing next to Candace Owens, who was also wearing a shirt at Fashion Week in Paris. That's all he did. And basically his life was over because of that. Of course, he came out once that started, and that's when he started saying, I'm going to go DEFCON 3 on the Jews. And that's when the whole war against the Jews started for Kanye. So November 21st, 2022, this is about a month later. That's when this 2 ad campaigns are released, as I understand it. Balenciaga, one for Christmas of 2022 and one for the spring of 2023. So the first one comes out in the November 21st, 2022, and this is the one that you were mentioning with like the kids who were drunk and like they're trying to sell flasks, and it's it's like Christmas parties, but it's for children, but the kids are all inebriated, very strange, like young kids too. And of course, like the enormous backlash online, like what the hell is going on? December 1st, this is like, again, 10 days later after that scandal breaks, that's when Kanye goes on Alex Jones' show. Because remember, I think it was like November 23rd, something around there. That's when Nick Fuentes and Kanye go to Mar-a-Lago and have dinner with Trump.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, why the hell is Donald Trump having dinner with Nick Fuentes and Kanye after Kanye said he's going DEFCON 3 on the Jews? What the hell is going on here? And Trump was like, oh, I didn't even know who Nick Fuentes was. Sorry, my bad. December 1st, this is like a week later, Kanye and Nick Fuentes go on Alex Jones' show. So we're going to watch like a 1-minute clip. And again, he's wearing the Balenciaga gimp suit. And that's when he does the Netanyahu thing. He says, I don't even know who Bibi Netanyahu is, but I just learned about him 2 weeks ago. But apparently he's like a psycho killer.
He's a killer.
So he's a killer. So if I end up dead, I'm not suicidal. And he's sitting there talking to Bibi Netanyahu like it's like a bottle of chocolate milk and then like a net from like a fish aquarium. And it's Net and Yuhu. And really, I mean, I thought it was hilarious. It was high comedy. But here's the other part from that's lesser known. Let's watch this clip. This is actually talking about like the child pedophilia stuff.
Like one of the big topics right now is all of the pedophilia advertisement. And my take on that is, there's one place in the Bible where it says God sees sin differently. And there's another place where it says, let me get out my phone. I can like really pull up the exact thing it says in the Bible. The general gist, and we'll get back to it after the 5-minute break, is that you have to stay strict to everything and remove as much sin as possible in order to serve God. And when people look at pornography, when a grown man is looking at a grown woman have sex on camera, you're still looking at someone's daughter, and you're looking at a lot of times someone that is the product of pedophilia. So people will engage in going to strip clubs or looking at pornography, but then the moral compass is like, oh my God, look at the pedophiles. But in a way, anybody who looks at pornography is a form of a pedophile also. Let's bank it all in. It's very simple. We're not going to be talking about all this moral code and these standards right here. It's either Christ said so or Christ said no.
Yay, powerful information. I totally agree with you. Back in 60 seconds to join over 400 radio stations. Nick Fuentes in the studio. Everybody, tell everybody tune in.
Yeah. And so, I kind of gave my take on that appearance on the Kanye episode, but my take on that is that Alex Jones, like he Alex Jones on his own show. He came on there and was, talking shit about Bibi Netanyahu, and Alex Jones was like, you don't like Bibi Netanyahu? And he's like, I don't even know who Bibi Netanyahu is, but I heard he's like a hardcore assassin and he kills people. So, please don't kill me. And then remember, he also talks that was when he also started talking about Hitler and started being like, yeah, I think Hitler's kind of cool. I think Hitler's actually kind of a cool guy. And he's doing it wearing a Balenciaga suit. And it's like, I don't know. Obviously it's performance theater because he's doing like the Netanyahu thing. I look at that a lot of the, like I was telling y'all earlier, the way I look at Trump, like putting his arms around the neocons and putting his arms around Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg and Netanyahu and being like, yeah, like I just love these guys. And the artillery shells are coming in because it's like, it's Donald Trump. We have to fire artillery shells at him. And all these people that are standing around Trump, they can't take the heat. They can't take they can't take the flak. Trump can take the heat. Trump can take the artillery shells, but these people that are standing around him cannot. And that's the way I look at that. That's the way I look at what Kanye is doing there. Also understanding that Kanye is probably like an MK Ultra victim himself, and he's definitely like lost his mind several times throughout the course of his life and career. He did some pretty degenerate stuff like more recently. So, but that's
contradicting his own statements about pornography.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, but it's interesting. It's just so funny because if you actually look at it, he stuck his neck out for Balenciaga, and you know, basically said we're not doing the cancel culture like Balenciaga, Demna forever, and like as soon as he got done with that that infamous appearance on Alex Jones, who was like one of the first to come out and disassociate themselves from Kanye, is Balenciaga and Demna.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's just.
And so Demna's
that's the tell though. Like that's the tell. The first people to come out and be like, "Oh, we have nothing to do with this," is Demna and Balenciaga, who are like the two stars of your movie, basically.
Yeah, so we in the first one especially, we really like dial into Demna and some of his like closest cohorts, like Lada Volkova, who's another kind of creative photographer that works with them. But over the course of the writing phase and the research phase for this series, we found that pretty much every major creative director in designer fashion almost invariably are tied to things like Kabbalah, Theosophy, like all kinds of new age kind of stuff. There's even like in the year that COVID happened and the fashion houses weren't doing runways, Balenciaga did this digital runway thing. It was like I don't know if it was like augmented reality or if it was
a video game.
It was like a video game format, and you're walking around this like dystopian city.
It's called Afterworld.
And like the in-game like NPCs are all wearing Balenciaga outfits for that season.
Yeah, and you have to follow a white rabbit.
And it's full of imagery. It's full of like MK Ultra kind of style imagery. There's a nod to the cult of Acephale in it, which is like one of these early 1900s French.
Well, let's let the payoff to watching the film. I look at that as sort of like the bottom of the rabbit hole in a lot of ways with the Balenciaga scandal. We actually were able to uncover some stuff that no one had noticed before. You know, there was a few like major digs with the Balenciaga scandal. One of the, you know, sort of the videos about it that went viral was actually from the Daily, not the Daily Weimar. What's the name of that? Koenig. Right.
Daily Wire?
Yeah, Daily Wire. It was a Daily Wire video that went viral. But they didn't catch everything, and it's what we caught actually like puts this entire thing into perspective in a really direct way. You know, they threw some symbolism out there that was like can only
deep cut.
Yeah, it could only be like, hey, this is our philosophy. This is why we're doing this, and it's ultimately it's war on God. Okay.
Yeah. And it's not
self-declared
just,
war on God.
Yes. It's like all of them. The current, well, I don't think she's actually there anymore, but the creative director for Dior was into this kind of stuff. She did all this kind of like Masonic symbolism in her work and in just images. She there's this gal Michelle Lamy who what?
Let's save that one, man.
Well, I'm just mentioning her in passing.
Okay,
but
cool.
People like her and like
she's little known. That's why I.
But she's well known she's like well known in the right certain places.
Oh yeah. She's like a celebrity like on the level of Marina Abramovic. But
exactly.
Like we don't like no one in our movement knows about her for some reason. Like so.
But they know about her on the left, especially like the Hollywood like music kind of scene.
And so she sits right on the border of the fashion industry and the music world.
Yeah, she's like a bridge between them, kind of.
But I think you should play the second clip because I don't think we're gonna come closer to the topic in that second clip than we are now. With the topic of who's in Demna's immediate circle.
Okay, so this is the second clip from their film.
Demna is known for the company he keeps, being a major collaborator with Kim Kardashian and Kanye West. But he also keeps close industry friends like model and stylist Lada Volkova, who worked as the lead stylist for Vetements and Balenciaga, and Mintu Vasala, one of the brand's premier runway models. When the scandal first broke, it was his association with Volkova and their tendency for occult and generally uncomfortable imagery that led people to assume their involvement in the satanic underground. Volkova's Instagram, which featured a bevy of images ranging from the weird to the sinister, would be flooded with accusatory comments. It didn't help that both Demna and Volkova are close with Gosha Rubchinsky, a Russian streetwear designer who was accused of pressuring a 16-year-old boy to send explicit images of himself. Regarding these accomplices, Demna once wrote in an Instagram post that
someone wrote that Lotte, Gosha, and I grew up on child pornography and radiation from Chernobyl, which is why we're so f***ed up.
Yeah. That's who it is. You know, you don't know these people's names, but they're the high priests of culture.
Yeah.
They're the people who the celebrities emulate, and then we emulate the celebrities.
Yeah, and you know there is a really weird, just like to round out the like the Kanye thing. There is this really weird moment last year because I was like tracking just world events for the Badlands News Brief as I do, and like last summer, like late spring, early summer. I mean, Russia. This was like at the peak of the whole like anti-Russia stuff, where Putin was totally persona non grata everywhere, and no celebrity would go there. No, like every artist had like canceled their concerts. Every musician had canceled their concerts, sanctions, all that stuff. Remember, this is before Trump got reelected. And all of a sudden this like story broke, and the people who broke the story was actually TASS, TASS, which is like Russian. That's the closest thing you'll get to Russian state media. That's like Putin adjacent media, basically. And they're the ones who broke the story that Kanye West was coming to Moscow. And the reason he was coming to Moscow was to attend that guy's birthday party, like Rubachinsky. Now, I'm pretty sure they've had like a falling out since then. But it was a really, really weird just deployment because TASS was speculating that there was going to be like an interview between Kanye and Putin. And there was all this talk about Putin and Kanye hanging out when he came. And then, and then Alexander went, it says during the trip, West stopped by a pro wrestling event where American fashion designer Alexander Wang had partnered with Tokyo Joshi Pro Wrestling to host Wang Mania, which again is just weird because like on this show, I talk about TrumpaMania all the time. Like the whole thing was just very, very weird. And it didn't make any sense. So anyway, and it was very hard to get information about it because all, you know, Western media is not in Russia. So all of the information was kind of like coming secondhand from like Russian media. So anyway, like I don't know, but like the purpose of him going there, then there was speculation he was going to come back and do a concert, which didn't end up happening. I don't think, but the whole purpose of like the reason he was allowed into Russia, because remember, there was no diplomatic relations between the State Department and the Russian Foreign Ministry. All diplomatic relations for 3 years were cut off. So we were not for the first time in history, we were not speaking to Russia. Even during the Cold War, at the height of the Cold War, we could pick up the phone and talk to Russia. We were not doing that for 3 years. And so Kanye going there was like, how the hell is this guy getting there if he's an American citizen? And it was through that guy like Rubachinsky, who sounds like a creep. But anyway, I don't know what's going on there. But when you consider the fact that Kanye was in Saudi Arabia hanging out with it, like literally hanging out with MBS and is doing like real estate deals with him, like major real estate deals, you really can't put anything out of the realm of possibilities with like who he could be meeting with.
Yeah, it's highly notable. I mean, if it's that hard to get into Russia, then, you know, however he's able to get in is what it is, you know, and the fact that they had a falling out, I think, is notable as well. Because, yeah, he's definitely a creep. So is a lot of Volkova. You know, they've never even, like, provided an explanation for like some of those Instagram posts. It's just like try to wipe them out of the history books, but we found them. Took some digging, but yeah, put on your spiritual armor when you watch the film, for sure.
Yeah, but I agree. Like y'all have a great there's like a great delivery, so to speak, at the end that makes the whole thing worth watching. So I won't give any of it away, but encourage everyone to go watch it. Again, it's 24 minutes, so it's one of those things that's very easy to watch it. But I would encourage you to sit down and actually watch it as opposed to just listening to it, because a lot of people like to just listen to podcasts when they're going about their day. You should sit down and watch this one because the visuals, I think, are important. Some of it's kind of stomach turning. It's not like pornographic, but it is creepy. But we have to confront that stuff, because if we don't, then we can't really understand what we're up against.
Yeah. And I sort of styled it in the same way that you would do like a music video, in terms of the pacing and the rhythm of the edits with the music and everything. So it's engaging. It feels like a ride. It's like a roller coaster ride, and it just keeps going further and further. But when you go in and you sort of eventually hit the bottom, you're able to kind of back out step by step in a way that doesn't jar you too much at all. And it's very, allows you time to process this stuff and see the big picture of it, because I can't emphasize enough that like these people have overplayed their hand, and they are not the cultural influencers they once were. They are a dying breed, and they still have certain, certain levers of control, but and certain, amounts of funding that they need. But that's really what's propping them up at this point. Is it's artificial. It's, they're just kind of on life support with the steady flow of cash coming from, dwindling sources. A lot of these sources of funding, I think, was like USAID and stuff,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because otherwise they're just giving up so much in profits, and just they no longer have the hearts and minds of people in the way that they did.
Well, a lot of like the artists who come out of like art school are like they learn how to apply for grants, so they're applying for grant money to like do like studies, like art studies, right? But a lot of the times they're just doing like weird, creepy stuff, like weird, creepy shows that, of stuff that just doesn't really make any sense and doesn't really have any cultural value or like moral philosophy to it, other than just like nihilism, like at best, or at worst, something much darker. It's also worth noting, I think it's important to say, because right now, obviously like law enforcement is being vilified, and to some extent that's deserved. But I've become friends with like local prosecutors just from like personal life experiences. And I helped this guy get elected county prosecutor back in 2019, and I went to one of his like campaign. It was a very high stakes election because of like people were like getting shot in this rural county and nobody was being prosecuted, and there's just like total lawlessness because the guy who was in office was just that bad. And so at this campaign like function that I went to, he like hundreds of people in this room, and this was a tiny county, so for that many people to show up just really showed how significant the whole moment was. And he decided to tell this story. He's like, I've never told this story before, but I just think this is the right time to tell it. And he went in to tell this story about how when he was a prosecutor in a different county, because the sheriffs had asked this guy to move to their county and run against this guy. That's how desperate they were for like a good prosecutor. Is like they basically called in the gunslinger from a different county. He moved there, lived there for like a year, and then was going to run, and then ran. And he was explaining how in the other county he lived in, which was by like off the interstate in a much more high traffic area, a judge at one of the local courthouses, his like, I don't know if it was a federal judge or a state judge, but his nephew was basically like a disturbed person and like called in like a bomb threat, or there was reason to believe that he was going to like harm his uncle, the judge. And so the FBI moved in and I guess with local law enforcement and raided the kid's house. and he had like servers and servers and servers full of child porn. And this guy was the prosecutor, and he said that he was like, I think when they counted it all up, it was like 1,100 photos and images, like photos and videos of like child pornography. And as he explained to us, he said, look, the way this thing works is that there's a sentencing matrix, and you have to, in order to get this guy put away as long as possible, it's not as simple as this guy's a pedophile, put him away. You have to rack up as many charges as possible, because once it comes time to sentence them, they're going to say, all right, this many charges, this many, whatever, you get this many years in prison. It's not nearly as many as you think it is. Like, I'm sure you could sympathize. So he said somebody had to watch all of this stuff. And so he said, I took that responsibility on. And he had like 2 young kids at the time. I mean, I met his kids. His kids were great, but they were like 10 and 8 or whatever at the time. But it was a few years before. And he said that he could only watch look at like 10 images or videos at a time. And it took him about 3 or 4 months to get through the whole thing. But he said that like he would stop, he would start crying, he would have to like go on a walk, he would throw up. Like, he said it was like some of the worst psychological trauma he went through ever. But by the end of it, it was like 49 charges or whatever from all of it. That's it. Like 49 charges is all they were able to get. But they were able to put him away for 22 years because of that.
Yeah, man. I
and
think that's
he said he will never be the same. He is like psychologically disturbed for the rest of his life. Yeah. And he's a different person now because of that experience. But somebody had to do it. Like somebody had to sack up in that moment and do the thing that nobody wanted to do. And this local small town prosecutor is the one, not the FBI. This guy is the one who took it on, and he did it. And because he did it, this guy went away for 22 years. And this guy had serious issues. And we have to like recognize that those people are out there. Like the actual lawmen, like, I said gunslinger, but the lawmen of the world are out there. The good people are out there. And we have to find them, and we have to support them, because this guy won the election, and he totally turned around that county. That county was on the brink of anarchy 6 years ago, and now he has like brought it back. He's gotten rid of all the elements that had moved in from the more urban areas, and this is the kind of thing that ultimately we have to confront. And if we don't have the courage to do it, then it's not going to happen. So the people who are willing to do that, we have to celebrate them, and we have to support them.
Amen. There's 2 things I would say about that. The first thing is, I have a feeling that there's a lot more people out there than we think. So much of what we see and our perception of like the level of justice that's happening and our dissatisfaction with that is legitimate. But I think if we're looking at the kind of justice that we want coming down the pike, I think it would have to take as long as it is, just based on what you're saying alone. The amount of videos that have to be looked at and evidence that has to be combed through to build the kind of cases and that was just a nobody in your town. Imagine like some of the most powerful people in the world. If we are going to take these people down, I would imagine that it wouldn't be the kind of thing that could just happen overnight, or that you would want to do half-assed. So God willing, we've got that coming down the pike. But in the meantime, the onus is on us to do some of the legwork when it comes to exposing what is within just the public eye alone, what is like publicly accessible information alone. There's enough out there to at least incriminate some really bad people and expose them, especially if they're in a position of influence that they don't deserve to be in, that they should not be in, because of the consequences of the kind of degeneracy that comes from their the moves that they make and the influence that they wield. And I think Dauntless Dialogue is a great example. It's now Dauntless. I think Adam and I were talking about rebranding, and I think he's stripping it down to just Dauntless. But you'll be able to get the Dauntless Dialogue, I think, through both the URLs. Right now, it's Dauntless Dialogue, but Dauntless is a great example of that kind of content that is really important work that will wake a lot of people up, and it's very high production value stuff. And it's not easy building this stuff, and while you're not looking at child pornography, you're looking at really vile, evil stuff.
It's adjacent. It's adjacent for sure. It's adjacent for sure. Yeah.
It stains your soul a little, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Mouthy Buddha is someone who's done a lot of work on Dauntless, whose work it will really rock you to your core, but there's also positive stuff on there too, like in terms of like where it lies on the energetic spectrum. I mean, I just put out a film called Vibes on Dauntless that is basically about the energetic nature of reality, and is very high vibe film. So there's cartoons, there's all kinds of stuff. So shout out to Adam Riva for the amazing work he's doing with Dauntless, and putting money into this kind of work that you're seeing with Dauntless, with Darkness by Design. If you want to support that, he actually had another coupon code that he did for this show alone that I want to share. It's the coupon code is GHOST, and that gets you 50% off of either a year subscription or a month subscription that will then renew the next month at the regular price. But
well, and just to be clear, so like he's talking about a subscription to Dauntless to watch all their stuff, all the stuff that is behind the paywall. A lot of the stuff is not behind the paywall, so you can go watch plenty of their films that are not behind the paywall, but
Absolutely.
but the stuff, like the latest stuff that they're coming out with is behind like for subscribers only. And so there's no kickback to me. Like I don't make any money off of that. That's not what it's about. It's just to help people out. The promo code, as Adrian said, is GHOST, 50% off. You can either subscribe for 1 month or a year. The 1 month is a $9 subscription so 50% off is $4.50. You can binge watch the whole thing in a month. I recommend doing the 1 year $90 subscription for 50% off. It's $45. Support the people who share our values, who are putting out really, really good content, who are helping change the culture. And I told that story about the prosecutor because, I look at what y'all did with this documentary the same way. Like, you went and looked into the abyss, and you got to be careful because sometimes the abyss will look back into you, but we have to do that. And as I've already said multiple times, and y'all have done it, and hats off to you. We appreciate you coming on. If you don't mind, stick around. We'll hit some of these rants. I'm sure there'll be some questions from the audience. Why don't y'all, I'm going to pull up the last ad before we do that. Why don't y'all tell everybody where they can find y'all on social media? Ryan, you're muted.
I've been muted for a while, I think. My bad.
All good.
I did want to add that the new Dauntless app is coming out. Right now it's Roku.
It's so sick.
It's so much better. Like, Dauntless is great. It's got great content, but the new app that they're about to roll out, everything looks better. The video quality, the audio quality, everything's improved. It's like basically Netflix quality user interface. And that should be launching sometime in the next 2 weeks. So you can
That's awesome.
It's currently on Roku, but it's going to be on, I believe, Google and Apple as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he's even looking into seeing what he can do with like PlayStation and Xbox. But for now, at least those three will be.
It's all custom coded. Like it's really nice.
Yeah, it's looking good.
And
I think we're entering a new era at Dauntless, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Also, definitely check out Adrian's Vibes movie. It's beautiful. Like he should be directing like high quality music videos on the side because he's just so good at what he does with the video editing.
Can you put that in the comments, Adrian?
Sure.
Please? Yeah,
Well, Vibes is right now. It's only available if you subscribe. It's behind the paywall, so it's one of Dauntless's latest release.
It's worth subscribing just for that. It's so good.
Thanks, man.
But seriously, support the guys. yeah, support our friends. These guys are friends. Dauntless. These guys are friends of Badlands. Obviously, Ryan writes for our Substack and has written our documentary before. So these are the people who are changing the culture one day at a time. But yeah, tell us where
it ain't gonna change itself.
That's right. Give us your coordinates. Where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter. I finally got my account back. I don't know if there's still like lingering restrictions on it or what, but I'm trying to make it work. At X Ryan_Delarme. I'm also on Substack. I write for Badlands, but I have my own Substack as well. You can find me there at Ryan Delarme also.
Nice.
Cool. And you could find me on X. Find my wife and I, who collectively make up RISE Attire USA. You could find us on X at RISE Attire US, and on True Social is RISE Attire USA. We're on every platform, but if you go to riseattireusa.com, you'll see at the top right corner is all of our social links. So at pretty much every platform we're putting out our thoughts on and announcing things and talking about things. And we stream every Saturday on Rumble and Foxhole, DLive, and Odyssey. We have a show called R Plus Truth. So if you search on Rumble, RISE Attire, 2 words, that's the actual channel. You follow that. Check us out on Saturdays. And if you want to grab some gear too, you go to riseattireusa.com. It's all made in USA. It's not made in sweatshops in Singapore. It's made with skilled USA hands, made to order. You get base T-shirts like this.
Yeah, it's a nice T-shirt.
Thanks, man. And much more. And also badlandsmedia.tv/rise. Got some RISE Attire Badlands gear like this Clown World hat.
Hell yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I'm still waiting for this ad video to load, so we'll go ahead and hit the rants. And we definitely want to have y'all back when part 2 comes out, so we'll keep an eye out for that. Let's see, we have one from Tiger Girl 76, $10. Thanks for all you do, Ghost. I promise not all prosecutors suck. Some of us truly want to help our victims, and I know most of the prosecutors I worked with did too. And yes, my experience dealing with prosecutors was most of the prosecutors I met were awesome. Like, they were really good people. Like I said, the guy that I met, the gunslinger guy who I described, who I'm not going to dox him and give his name out, but he single-handedly restored my faith in like the system. I mean, this was 2019, so I was already amped up because like Q and Trump and all that. But like, I was pretty disillusioned. Like, I was pretty disenchanted with what I had experienced up until that point with the corrupt prosecutor. And so meeting this guy, like when I met this guy, it was like, I was like, okay, people like this actually exist. And yes, they do exist. So I would 100% endorse that. We got Deborah Stars, $15. Thank you all 3 for the work you do. Well, thank you, Deborah, for your support. We appreciate y'all. And then let's check out real quick badlandsmedia.tv. If you're listening to this on replay, you go to badlandsmedia.tv/boost, or just go to the website and click the boost tab. You can leave a rant any day of the week that we will read. I think we're caught up on this show, and there's the ad read. So we'll hit this ad read real quick. We'll do this as our outro. So we'll just go ahead and say goodnight. Thanks again, guys. Excellent film. For those asking, how can you watch it? You can watch it for free. The link is in the description of this video. And the name of the film is Darkness by Design, put out by Dauntless, but written, produced, and narrated and edited by the two gentlemen on screen, Adrian from RISE Attire and Ryan Delarme. So thanks again, gentlemen, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, Gordon.
Thanks for having us.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our biggest 3-in-1 sale ever with a limited edition product, a back in stock special, and a closeout deal you won't find anywhere else. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get our MyPillow bed sheets, only $29.88. Any color, any style, any size, even kings, regular $119.98, only $29.88. Once they're gone for good. How about our My Towels? They're finally back in stock, but not for long. Get a 6-piece My Towel set, regular $69.98, now only $39.98. And for the first time and the only time ever, get our limited edition premium MyPillows. They're made with Giza cotton and designer gusset. Queen $17.98, Kings only $19.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get the best offers ever. Quantities are extremely limited, so order now.
Thank you so much for joining us, and don't forget to hit the thumbs up on this video. And a special thank you to all of our advertising partners. Please remember to shift your dollars to support those businesses that support Badlands Media.